priced out.
It'll probably go for $999.
Up to like 1.1.
$1.1 million, maybe $1.2 million.
The Bay Area's hot housing market forcing people into bidding wars, hours-long commutes, and tight living situations.
There's a lot of other people in the community who live like this, or they live even worse.
We'll look at the struggle faced by both homeowners and renters.
This is the opposite of Field of Dreams. People lived here and they had their dreams and their dreams were coming true, and then people got greedy and they priced them out.
What brought us here and how your vote comes into play on Election Day, and the signs of a cool down giving hope to people living and working in the Bay Area. Well, hello, and thank you for joining us for this KTVU Fox 2 special. I'm Andre Sr.
And I'm Alyana Gomez. If you live or work in the Bay Area, you already know it comes at a cost. Prices to buy or rent a home here are through the roof. And if you choose to commute for more affordable areas, the trade-off is time.
Yes, let's show you what we are talking about here. This map uses data shared with us from the real estate website Trulia. It shows this year's median home values for all 9 Bay Area counties compared with the median for the entire country.
And you can see home values for every single Bay Area county have gone up at least 5% from last year. Solano County has the lowest home values at $432,000, and that's still about double the national number.
Yeah, so housing experts tell us it all comes down to supply and demand. The Bay Area's booming tech industry has been a key component in creating thousands of new job opportunities, and that's outpacing the number of new homes being built, as well as driving up the price of the homes that are available.
And for anyone looking to buy a home, that means a lot of frustration and a lot of money.
Oh, yes, it does. People from Silicon Valley to San Francisco to the suburbs are being forced into bidding wars, often over homes that need a lot of work. And take a look at this home in the East Bay, for example. It is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom ranch-style house in Orinda with an asking price of nearly $900,000. The listing says the property comes as is, and it invites potential buyers to, quote, bring your contractor and your vision, saying the home has great potential. And for some, those words might be a red flag, but for many in the Bay Area, it's a signal of an opportunity. KTVU's Sarah Zondenab gives us a tour.
1.3 million, 1.9 million, 2.2 million. A quick look at this map around Orinda on Zillow.com begs the question, is it possible to find a home for sale in Orinda for less than $1 million? It is on Robert Road.
Pretty much every morning we look at Redfin, and then when this listing popped up, we were just like, oh my gosh, we have to go see it, like right away, just because of the price point.
The listing price? $899,000.
The way to attract buyers is to put an attractive price on it.
The 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home sits on a half-acre lot. It's surrounded by great schools and easy access to the highway. Sound too good to be true? Well, take a look inside.
The price here somewhat reflects the fact that it is pretty much in an original state, so there's quite a bit to do.
Come on to my house, With a pink toilet and bathtub and plush blue carpet, this home was built in the 1950s and hasn't been updated since.
There's a tremendous amount of demand. There's been a lot of interest on this property. There are approximately 80 to 100 disclosure packets have been requested, so I'm expecting that there'll be more than a handful of offers.
There's an exposed ceiling, a barbecue built into a brick wall in the kitchen, and even an abandoned underground shelter in the backyard. Bringing the ranch-style home into the 21st century is a project broker Ignacio Vega says many want to take on.
People appreciate that it's an opportunity. A lot to work with, again, as I said, but it's very livable with a minimal amount of work. So there's, across the board, there's interest.
That interest was obvious at the open house. Vega says the listing price did the job. It attracted attention, and now it's up to potential buyers.
And we'll let the market decide where the value is.
It's a lot of money there, so we want to know, what do you think about this home? Is it a steal or just too much work? Join the conversation using the hashtag KTVU. Then in a few minutes, we will hear from the people who actually attended that open house. Well, the housing struggle isn't limited to just those looking to buy a home.
It's just as tough for people looking to rent as well. Take a look. This map uses data shared with us by Apartment List. It shows the median rent for a 2-bedroom home here in the Bay Area has gone up since last year in all 9 Bay Area counties. Housing economist Chris Salviati says we're in the midst of an affordability crisis, and while rent growth has slowed, that doesn't mean rents will get cheaper anytime soon.
Even if rent growth remains at a lower level, we're still in the most expensive market in the country, and so I don't see any serious signs of rents coming down in the near term, and that's really what a lot of people would need to see to make it an affordable market.
A recent Department List study shows rental prices are climbing the most in areas where tech giants like Google, Facebook, and Apple are hiring more workers. And the effects of that are being felt way beyond Silicon Valley and even in the Bay Area.
Oh, yes. Instead of living closer to work, many people are choosing to be super commuters, spending less money on rent and more time traveling to and from work every day. So that's a story for one woman named Christy. This woman here who lives in the Central Valley and works in the East Bay. Now, Christy reached out to us on Twitter. She says she sets aside about 90 minutes to make sure she gets to work on time. KTVU's Sal Castaneda hopped in the car with her for one of her morning commutes.
Every weekday, Christy Ross drives from the two-bedroom apartment she shares with her boyfriend on the east side of the Altamont Pass to her job with the Alameda County Office of Education. She has her commute timed to the minute.
If I leave at 6, there's a good chance that I'm going to be early and I'm not going to hit so much traffic. But if I push it past 6:15, then there's a chance I could be late and I'm going to be sitting in more traffic.
I rode along with Christy, sitting in the very same traffic I talk about every weekday morning.
The traffic is going to be a little bit slow already. Let's go right to the Tracy Super Commute.
Now we're taking the truck lane to drop us on the 205.
We started the commute at 6 a.m. and hit traffic even before we got to the freeway.
Okay, all right, let's just hunker down then, I guess, and we'll get to work when we get to work.
Christy isn't alone. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission says since the dot-com boom in 2000, daily commute congestion has increased about 65% per commuter, while the Bay Area's population is up 15% and jobs are up 12%. We hit more traffic at the Altamont Pass and some places in Livermore before arriving at Christy's work site in Dublin at 7:30. That's an hour and 30-minute commute. Christy says she tried over and over to find an apartment in the Bay Area that she could afford with no luck.
It just kind of felt like waves, like, oh, I can't be in Fremont. Okay, that's weird. And then, oh, I can't be in Union City or Newark or Hayward. And then I felt lost and trying to find a place.
She says she and her boyfriend have considered just leaving the state altogether to find a more affordable and sustainable lifestyle.
No, I definitely didn't think when growing up that I would have to move out of Fremont and have never been given the chance to live there.
She says while the morning commute is slow, the afternoon commute is far worse, and it's common to take 2 hours to drive 40 miles.
So, like Sal said, Christy is not alone. When Sal was looking for super commuters to profile, he put a call out on Twitter, and he got dozens of replies from drivers who commute solo and passengers who carpool to people who rely on public transportation. So share your story with us using the hashtag KTVU.
Coming up, Bay Area families forced to downsize. After the break, a look at the sacrifices being made by low-income residents who can't or don't want to leave the Bay Area.
I just think about it and I'm like, you have to do sacrifices so that everyone's okay.
And for a little more perspective here, a look at what $500,000 can get you in San Francisco. Check out this home we found on real estate website Zillow. This is a 303-square-foot studio equipped with a Murphy bed and an outdoor patio in the city's South of Market neighborhood. It sold back in September for $475,000.
Now compare that with this home, which sold for the same price in Vallejo. It's a two-story, 1,300-square-foot house with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. The listing on Zillow boasts new flooring, windows and appliances, and a front and backyard. And it sold in mid-October for, again, that same price as that studio in San Francisco, $475,000. What a difference. We'll have more after the break. The Bay Area has one of the country's largest and least sheltered homeless populations, with thousands of people sleeping on the streets. A study last year by the nonprofit group Spur lists economic dislocation as the #1 factor leading to homelessness in the Bay Area. The study notes that while jobs in tech are increasing, other industries like manufacturing are seeing a decline, leading longtime workers to lose their jobs at a time when housing prices are going up. Affordable housing advocates say it's a growing problem that needs to be stopped.
They priced them out, and now the original inhabitants of San Jose are living on the streets everywhere. And now they're saying, oh, no, if we just build more, new people will come. But what's going to happen to the old people, the people that were originally here? They're on the streets, and they're just going to get pushed out.
The Spur study recommends permanent supportive housing and other services such as counseling and employment assistance as a solution to solving the Bay Area's homeless problem. On KTVU.com, we've posted a link to that homeless study so you can read it for yourself. Just look under web links.
Homelessness is a growing concern for low-income families here in the Bay Area. In fact, in San Francisco, San Mateo, and Marin counties, the federal government classifies a family of 4 earning up to $117,000 as a low-income household. And to make ends meet, some families are forced to downsize. KTVU's Alyana introduces us to one family who moved out of their 3-bedroom house and into a 1-bedroom apartment they now share with another family.
This is the bed my sister, my mom, and I sleep.
15-year-old Cindy gives us a tour of her family's home.
We unfold it, and then I lay down there, my sister lays down here, my mom lays down here, and my dad, he sleeps on the ground.
The family of 5 live in the living room of a 500-square-foot apartment in East Palo Alto.
My mom has her stuff right here, and my dad has his stuff right there.
Graduation and family photos are hung up on the wall next to the family's shared dresser, toiletries, and toothbrushes neatly stored on the counter.
And it's hard because every morning when I get ready for school, I have to hurry up really fast. I have to get up really early so I can change in the kitchen.
Cindy and her family used to live in this 3-bedroom house in East Palo Alto. 4 years ago, they paid $2,900 a month. Within 3 years, rent rose to $4,200. When the rent spiked to $6,200 in March, the cost forced the family to downsize.
And up there, we have our closets.
With nowhere else to go, a family friend took them in. That friend and her 2 teenage kids live in the apartment's only bedroom. Cindy's family contributes $1,000 a month to offset the costs of 8 people living in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Do you ever get waking up with someone snoring? Or?
I do get waking up a lot. And then, it's hard to, go back to sleep. But, I just think about it, and I'm like, you have to do sacrifices so that everyone's okay.
Cindy's parents have lived in East Palo Alto for 20 years. Her older sister and brother were born and raised here. In that time, her mom, Marbella, says she's never had so much trouble finding a new place to live until now. She turned in applications to live in 8 different apartment complexes over the past 6 months and was rejected because of her family's income. She says she needs to make at least $10,000 a month to qualify. The family's income falls short. Her husband's worked for the same landscaping company for 20 years and makes $17 an hour.
It came down to a choice between, do we give our kids a place to live or food to eat?
The problem's not limited to East Palo Alto, of course. Bay Area-wide, over the past 7 years, the cost of rents have outpaced income. According to data collected by real estate website Zillow, between 2010 and 2017, median incomes in the San Francisco metro area rose 43%. During that same period, the median rent grew more than that. Emeryville saw a 74% jump. East Palo Alto, a 67% increase, and in Walnut Creek, San Rafael, San Leandro, and Berkeley, the median rent grew at least 50% or more.
It is a crisis.
Julio Garcia is program director for Nuestra Casa, a nonprofit community group in San Mateo County. He says Cindy and Marbella's living situation is not unique.
Dozens of families, are downsizing or, just sharing apartments. There's a lot of people who are making $35,000 or $45,000 a year. People who work in the service industry, say a dishwasher or a cook or a gardener.
Marbella is reluctant to move out of the Bay Area. It would mean leaving her community and the low pay but steady job her husband's had for 2 decades.
What hurts me the most is thinking about how this affects my daughters. They're teenagers. They need their own space, some privacy.
It's a very complicated thing, and I don't try to bring myself down or bring other people down because there's other people that don't even have a roof over their head. And so I should be grateful for that.
She says there is some comfort knowing her family is not the only one struggling. In East Palo Alto, Alyana, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Well, for some, the solution to the Bay Area housing and homeless problem is going tiny. In Oakland, for example, city officials are working with Laney College and the Westside Missionary Baptist Church on a tiny home community program to provide temporary housing for students in need. Back in September, Oakland City Councilman Abel Guillen lived in one of those tiny homes for 2 days, and he told us the 10 to 14-foot long homes are small, with not much more than a bed, kitchen, and bathroom, but they provide students with a safe place to stay.
We have students who are couch surfing. They're staying at a friend's house, a relative's house. They're sleeping in their cars. The answer to homelessness is to build more housing, but we know that's really expensive and takes a long time. In the meantime, we got to make investments.
Students living in those tiny homes pay $100 a month in rent and work at the Westside Missionary Baptist Church, where the homes are located, in exchange for a stipend. San Jose is also considering its own tiny home program. The city's housing department wants to build 80 to 140 square foot sleeping cabins for the homeless. But the plan is being met with criticism over what it might cost and where the homes would be located.
Meanwhile, in Mountain View, some residents are turning to mobile homes in their effort to downsize. This summer, longtime resident Cindy Boone gave us a tour of her new 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home at Sunset Estates, a mobile home park for seniors. She moved there after selling her home a mile from Google, which she bought in 2003 for $485,000, and she sold it for $1.8 million.
I fell in love with some of the homes and just made so much sense because they were so much less money. I definitely didn't want to go out of the Bay Area. I like the Bay Area. I'm going to stay up here. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to be able to do that.
I think it's probably a wave of the future in places where people can afford the real estate that's underlying these homes.
So get this, Boone says she bought that mobile home for $243,000, remodeled it for another $70,000, and pays $1,400 in rent for the lot. A traditional home in Mountain View with the same square footage would have cost her about $2 million.
Wow. Well, back now to Orinda and that 50s style home we told you about earlier. Well, you'll remember the 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom ranch style house needs some work, but for the price, there was definitely a lot of interest. KTVU's Sarah Zendanon was at the open house to see what potential buyers thought.
The work that needs to be done on this Orinda home is obvious.
There's a lot of deferred maintenance here. If you look at the roof and the grounds.
I think the ceiling, just when you look at it, like for me, I would just change it, right away.
This would need to be someone either with a lot of cash or ready to roll their sleeves up.
So why did all these people show up to the open house?
$899 is a great price.
The competitive nature of Bay Area real estate doesn't discriminate. While many weren't impressed by the house, the low listing price of $899,000 is why they're here.
It looks like it has good bones.
It has a good potential for a flip.
A beautiful piece of property. I think it's only been owned by one family, which is kind of cool, and certainly a great opportunity.
The home on Robert Road was put on the market October 8th. Within days, broker Ignacio Vega says upwards of 100 potential buyers requested disclosure packets to get more information. The property is surrounded by $1 and $2 million homes, so this price is a deal.
The demand is out there.
So there you have it, and we'd like to know what you think. Would you put in a bid? If so, how much would you be willing to pay? And what would you do to the home if your offer was accepted? We're tracking your answers. Just use the hashtag KTVU.
Well, after the break, we will tell you how many offers that home got before the buyers accepted.
Plus, is the market cooling? We'll get some insight from housing experts that may give some prospective homeowners here in the Bay Area some hope. Also, you decide how your vote in this coming election could change the future of housing across California.
And another look now at what you can buy here in the Bay Area. This time we looked for homes in the $700,000 price range. Now check out what we found in Palo Alto. It is a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 727 square foot condo. The Zillow listing says it has new carpet, a new private patio there, as well as an in-unit washer dryer and a shared pool and clubhouse. It sold back in September for $727,000.
In Pleasant Hill, that money can get you this home, and you'd even have $27,000 left over. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2,000 square foot house with a backyard. Zillow says this home sold back in May for $700,000. Back after the break.
Well, housing isn't just an issue here in the Bay Area. In fact, this election, voters across California will decide on at least 2 housing-related measures.
And the one getting the most attention is Proposition 10, which would repeal Costa-Hawkins, a state law that prevents cities from regulating the rent on homes built after 1995. In short, the measure would give individual cities the option to implement rent control again.
Rent control is a very divisive issue among a lot of housing advocates on both sides of the equation. One of the challenges of rent control is that it's not currently means tested. People can live in rent-controlled apartments, but they may not need it. What that ends up doing, and there are some studies that back this, is that it actually encourages a lot of gentrification in these cities.
The Legislative Analyst's Office predicts if cities choose to enforce rent control, Prop 10 would likely reduce state and local revenues. It's because rent control would likely lead to a decline in the value of rental properties and, over time, a decrease in property tax revenue. But the LAO adds the amount of loss will depend on how many cities take advantage.
Yeah, there is also Prop 5, which would allow property tax breaks for Californians 55 and older who move into a new home anywhere in the state. The California Association of Realtors introduced this measure, and the group claims Prop 5 will also make way for young families currently struggling to find housing. But critics say Prop 5 falls short of solving the state's housing shortage and instead reduces property tax revenue, which is mostly used to fund public education. The Legislative Analyst's Office estimates that Prop 5 would result in the loss of $100 million a year in property taxes for the first few years, and eventually up to $1 billion a year.
So let's head back to Orinda again, where we found ourselves a bidding war for that 50-style fixer-upper we showed you on the market for $899,000.
A lot of money, and despite all the work it needs, it did not take long for the offers to start coming in. Here again is KTVU's Sarah Zendenov to give us one last look, and tell us the sellers accepted an offer within days.
A house built in the 1950s, barely any updates since. A listing price of $899,000 anywhere else would be crazy. But in the Bay Area,
it's actually a pretty good deal.
People visiting the open house on Robert Road in Orinda all know the offers will be higher.
$1.1 million, maybe $1.2 million.
It might push up to like 1.1, between 9 to 1 million.
Yeah, it'll probably go for 999.
It took just 1 week on the market for broker Ignacio Vega to get 25 offers. The home is now in escrow. He can't say exactly how much the winning offer is until the contract closes in mid-November, but did say it's well over the asking price. The new owners plan to expand and remodel the house and eventually move in.
25 offers in 1 week. Unbelievable. An offer accepted for well over the asking price. Just incredible.
People always say, don't fall in love with a home because you might get outpriced.
Yeah.
But there may be some hope for people ahead, for people hoping to find a home here in the Bay Area. An expert in housing website, Trulia, tells us the market is cooling, with inventory up since April and home prices slowing or even going down, depending on where you look. But if you're expecting a significant decrease, you may not find it.
There is hope, but people definitely need to be patient and realistic about it. I think a lot of people are waiting for a big drop, especially those that want to buy a home, and we don't see that necessarily happening, but we do see that there's going to be downward pressure on prices because of people moving out. So if this trend continues, where we see more people moving out of the Bay Area, we might see those inventory numbers keep going up and prices start to relax a little bit more.
Senior housing economist Cheryl Young says if you're thinking about buying a home, it's a personal decision. A few factors to consider are, of course, your finances. Also, if you plan to stay in the Bay Area and the kind of work you're willing to put in if you're considering fixing up a home.
Yeah, you know, and when you see a home on the market, the price that's listed there, it's almost guaranteed you're going to go over that asking price. Just got to be ready. All right, that does it for us here on KTVU Fox 2, but our coverage continues online.
That's right, on KTVU.com and our KTVU mobile app. You'll find more on the stories you saw here, plus extended coverage, including stats from the experts at Trulia.
Yeah, we're also still monitoring your stories across all of our social media media platforms. We do it all day. So tag us on Facebook, on Twitter, also on Instagram, using the hashtag KTVU. We hope you enjoy the program. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.